Welcome back to the Great Game Dev Journey. I am your host, Woodsman the Peasant. Come join me as I show you some of the new things I have added to my classical Antiquity simulator. Alright, you guys, so let's usher in that new year. The first thing that I wanted to show you guys that I worked on was the survival module. It is a survival game that I'm making, and so I finally added in a couple bars down here, the blue, the yellow, the green, and they all sort of mean, well, the yellow is going to be weather, and that's going to be more complicated, and I don't have that one yet, but all the rest sort of decrement slowly over time. I have it jacked up now because I wanted to test and stuff, but so you'll see it actually go down. But blue's water, and green is health, and red is, I'm sorry, green is food, and red is health. And I sort of got into this sort of debate with myself, like which one's which? Is red or green health? So I realized like there's a lot of weird nuances to game dev, but ultimately I decided that red was the health bar and green was the food bar. And I think that's correct. So I added those bars, they decrement over time, and I added a couple new items into the game. Like grapes, for example, can now be equipped and then eaten with the left mouse button. And there's a little arrow where it does a squat. But you can see that the green bar goes up when you eat. And it's also true for the other food that we already added, like the fish and the wheat porridge, if you remember. But the water is the new thing. And so that's what I was hoping to show you guys here. Let me maximize the screen. Alright, so the water. So let me find a river real quick, and then we'll go over to it, and I'll show you what I did with the water. Here's a river. So we'll plop the guy down right there, right on the river. And so that what I did with water was, man, I gotta maximize it again. So with water, I made it so that when you run up to the river, the little text icon pops up, and I'm hoping to replace those all with like icons so that you don't need to understand English maybe even, but for now it is what it is, and probably it'll go to market like that. But the player can drink directly from the river, and the blue bar will go up, and that's how you don't die of dehydration basically for now. But I also added a water skin as one of the new icons that I added. But I also added the water skin as well to as a computer model, as a low poly model. And I made that one myself, thank you very much. And so the player can now fill up the water skin, and then at that point they could run away theoretically from the river and not die of dehydration. So as you hold right mouse button, you can see that the teardrop is filling up for the water skin there. And now I have actual water to actually sustain me for a while, and I can run away theoretically from the river and drink it. So yeah, so water is now a thing, and you could have like 10 water skins that were all full in your inventory. You can drink them away, things like that. So the simple basics of the water, water, and whether you die of dehydration, that kind of thing, are in. What else? What else do we do? So that's the survival thing. The thing I hope to do with weather, and this was kind of weird to me, is that my initial thought was make the mid point of the bar graph what the player wants, which would mean you're at room temperature, but the hot part would be too hot and the cold part would be too cold. And I realized that's not really right, because players seek to fill the bars. And so full means room temperature, and then if you're too hot, it will start to go down in a bad way, in a hot way, and if you're too cold, it'll start to go down in a cold way. So it'll be like a snowflake one, or like, whatever the icon for heat is. So that's the future of that, but I don't really have weather and stuff linked up yet, so there's a lot of work to still be done with that. But that's the survival module that I have so far. And the other thing we added was clothing. And we added a new menu, and I recorded this video sort of by accident without the menu showing, so Wanted to make sure that was showing it is. So we added the new top part of the menu. We now have the inventory button, the crafting button, and the character button. They're sort of like buttons for different tabs. So we're in the inventory tab right now, and you can drag clothing on and off, basically. A toga, pop the toga on if you want to go to a more ceremonial event. And of course, who likes muddy feet? You can now pop on some sandals for good measure. And each one of these clothing items will have different protection levels associated. And so you could imagine leather would be better for rain, but wool would be better for snow or something like that, or leather would be better for wind. And it's mostly just going to be wool or leather or linen. And these are the three materials that'll be in my game. I hope to add more, like some extravagant Eastern silks or satins or things like that. But it would be more like of a social status thing. At first, it's really just going to be wool and leather for the leather water skin, that type of thing. So the character apparel's in. You can drag and drop clothes onto the character, and that's the inventory deal. Or I'm sorry, the character apparel module. The next module I did was the crafting module. So for the crafting, basically, if you get enough stone or enough wood, you get enough stone and enough wood, you can build a primitive axe. And I added a queue here that kind of queues them up if you wanted to build a bunch of them. And there's a little kind of discrete measurement system. It's not really like a smooth wheel. It just sort of pops into like 4 different states of sort of ticking down. And then you get your item, and that's basically how the crafting system is going to work. Pretty cool. And the hope is to just flesh all these tabs out with even more items as I add more items into the game. And I don't have a lot of pathways to make certain items yet, like the water skin. There's no way to make leather yet, so you can't really make the water skin yet. And stuff like that. So I hope to flesh that all out as I go. But the first remnants of the crafting system are coming in. So that was the crafting system. Pretty simple there. Just basic functionality. Weapons combat was another module I started. So we have our new item, the dagger, and the dagger can be equipped similar to the other things like the tools and stuff. So if we equip our dagger, we'll go into... Oh, there's people walking around. I didn't want to show that yet. Uh-oh. Don't look at the people. So when we go into... when we arm ourselves, we go into our side-facing fighting mode, if you see what I'm saying. And the only swing we can do right now is the swing from the right. That's the only swing animation I added. But eventually there'll be swinging animations from the other sides. If you can see, I still don't really have the mouse wheel pointing thing working really correctly. It's still a little bit wonky. I need to fix that. But the combat system is going to be the next thing I work on after this. So I'm super excited to be in the state where I can just start to fight with the NPCs. I've been waiting for that for a while. And we had our fisticuffs, if you remember. I still have the functionality in. It's just, it's like front-facing instead of side-facing, if you see the difference. So that's why it's a little bit... Like, you're supposed to fight side-facing, so I have to redo the boxing part of the game. But I sort of always knew I was going to have to redo it. Alright, well, that brings me on to the last part, which is the pathfinding. I brought in my new pathfinding asset, the A-Star Pathfinding project, which is a Unity asset which can actually load and save the nav meshes, which is why I had to sort of put a pin in the pathfinding. So now I have, I swapped out the Unity default pathfinding system for the A-Star Pathfinding one, and now I can load and save nav meshes, and it also removed a couple of the bugs that I had, and I was actually reviewing my code about what I had done, and it was quite horrible, what I had done to make it work. I'd really hacked it apart, and the A-Star Pathfinding one was just so smooth. You know, the code was smooth. It's more or less just writing the code you think it should be, rather than this whole mess. And so, yeah, I now kind of want to redesign a lot of stuff, and I'm now just understanding better how pathfinding works and how to get NPCs to move around. This guy's stuck, I think. So there's still a couple problems, but there's less problems than there used to be, and now I can load and save an actual map and actually load and save the nav mesh with it. So now the game is actually functioning, if that makes sense. But the pathfinding is working, which is like so exciting, because now I finally have a procedurally generating terrain, procedurally generating city, procedurally generating NPCs, and they actually move around in a functioning way, and I can save it. So it seems like it's been such a harrowing journey to get here. I'm so glad I'm finally here. So for the future, the next project I was talking about was going to be the soldiering project module. And so you're going to start to see town watchmen walking around the city. You're going to see a barracks. You're going to see the town watchmen training at the barracks. And finally, I'm going to bring in the combat system, all in one kind of module. And so what I started doing was really just the beginning. I want to really flesh it out in the next module. There'll be still problems and stuff. It's not going to be perfect. But after the next module, I'm hoping to be able to watch like a 10v10 NPC fight. And you're going to start to see the direction that the game is going. Because it really is supposed to be a sword fighting game. And I haven't even gotten to that point yet where I have sword fighting. So that's for the future with soldiering. After that, I'm going to be putting in a system where I generate a second city on a second tile. And then I'm going to be generating like a road in between the two cities. And then there's going to be trade carts moving back and forth. So that's going to be the Tale of Two Cities module. And at that point, I'll be able to expand on that, and I'll be able to have 3, 4. And the hope is that the player can just sort of run sort of into infinity, and cities will just continue to spawn. And I think that's possible because they're not that complicated, my procedural generation of the cities. They're just huts kind of spattered across the terrain. I'm going to be starting to generate cities on oceans, and then we're going to start to see trade cogs, and we're going to start to see 2 ocean cities trading, and with like trade cogs going back and forth between them. So then I'm going to introduce kind of piracy after that, and sea warfare, and just kind of the primitive versions of all these things. So in the next 6 months, I'm hoping to add all that, and then maybe even my administration buildings module, which is going to be like a forum, and like basic religion, basic trade, basic marketplace, basic town assembly kind of style. And then those 3 different things that are solved by a primitive forum kind of branch off into more sophisticated things later. Like a market will become a straight up, marketplace, and at first it'll just be stalls in the forum, but then it'll be a straight up marketplace in its own right. And then what will originally just be like a little town assembly gathering area in the forum will turn into a curia, an actual fully fledged Roman administration building. And then, of course, same thing with religion. I want to add religion to the game. So what will originally just be like maybe a couple idols that you worship will turn into a full-fledged temple, and like a whole infrastructure of people that live there, and like monks and stuff. So that's the dream, you guys. Classical Antiquity Simulator. It's still going. I haven't given up. Don't give up on your dreams. They don't give up on you. Walk in the direction you want to go. You like just even going a little baby step in the direction you want to go is so much better than going a mile in a direction you don't want to go. It's kind of weird, isn't it? All right, you guys, walk softly and carry that big dream. This is Wisman the Peasant. Peace. Thank you so much to all the new subscribers. This has been a Woodsman the Peasant production, and don't forget to walk softly and carry a big dream. Peace.